Sarah-Lisa Vogel, and I'm very happy to welcome everyone to the 6th meetup in our meetup series Connect. This time we do this meetup together with Ars Electronica, where we're especially proud to, and Hortense over here, she's going to tell us a little bit more about Ars Electronica. I initiated this meetup series together with Tatiana over here from the Goethe-Institut Montreal, who we will also welcome in just a minute. And so Tatiana and me, we started this meetup series together in March 2020 to actually connect over border and enable international exchange in a virtual way, because we couldn't do that in a physical way throughout the last years. But we are also hoping to actually come together in a physical way, hopefully in the future. And I'm really happy and proud to say that since March 2020, we've been continuously running this meetup series and enabled a lot of really interesting and diverse people to bring their projects on stage and foster new connections. So our meetups have a different theme for each and every edition, and today's meetup is inspired by this year's Ars Electronica theme, about which we will hear a bit later. But first, I'm also very happy to introduce Farina over here. Farina is actually one of the country ambassadors. Oh, and I should switch on my megaphone. Farina is actually one of the country ambassadors. So she is, like me, a VR creator and media artist, and also the country ambassador for Germany at Women in Immersive Tech. You might have heard a little bit about Women in Immersive Tech already in the trailer, but we are a European community of VR AR creators, producers, makers, and enthusiasts. And we're basically working together as a team, as a European-wide, but hopefully also worldwide community of creators. So thank you, Farina, for organizing these meetups and for doing all the technical setup here, and the decoration and the space. So yeah, I'm very, very very happy to welcome you on stage and to have you here with me running those meetups.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I think I have nothing to add to this.
Okay, that's good as well. We also can just save time. Then I would just briefly introduce Joanna. She's a co-founder also at Women in Immersive Tech, and she will probably make it into the space a bit later on. And yeah, Vera is today in the Zoom call. I already briefly mentioned it to the people here in the space. Vera is basically streaming this event online to Zoom for us. Thank you, Vera, for doing this with us every time and like double multitasking this. And then we're already at the end of the first part of me being here, and I'm going to give the word over to Tatiana. I already told you that Tatiana is the person who basically started this meetup series with me. She's the program curator at the Goethe-Institut Montreal, and since a while also a VR enthusiast. And I'm also looking forward to actually welcome her to the Venice festival that is currently happening in VRChat, and I can't wait actually to see how your VRChat avatar will look like, because I haven't seen you in real life, I think, since 1.5 years since we said we're going to do these meetups. So I only know you in Altspace by now. And yeah, with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Tatiana. Thank you for doing this with us, and yeah, continuously pushing the borders of what this can be, literally, the taking this meetup series into the North American region as well. Thank you, Tatiana.
Thank you so much, Sarah-Lisa. Thank you for this nice introduction, and thanks to everyone for being here. For those, quickly, for those who are joining us via Zoom, just a little extra, you can, to have like the full Zoom experience, there's also a little performative element. You can just go and change your view to grid view to see both shared screens. So this is something for those who join in 2D only. Yeah, a little addition. Exactly. So yeah, as Sarah Lisa already introduced me, my name is Tatjana Braun. I am a program curator at the Goethe-Institut in Montreal. And yeah, it's really, really my pleasure to welcome you to our 6th episode of Connect. I'm really happy that, yeah, we are already at 6 episodes. As there might be some new faces here today, I'd like to introduce the Goethe-Institut quickly. We are the Cultural Institute of the German Federal Republic, and as a cultural organization, we strive to offer platforms for exchange like this one and connection, and in fact fostering international exchange between Germany, Europe, and Canada and the US is an essential part of our mission. But also before going into the rest of my introduction, I would take a little minute or the chance to thank Sarah Lisa also and Farina Hamann for their incredible work. Like, the room looks great as always. Thank you so much. Yeah, they put so much work and energy and love into these meetups, putting up all the decorations that we get from our speakers. It's, yeah, to make those rooms and this experience something very unique. So thanks a lot for that. I also want to thank Women in Immersive Tech Europe for being such an amazing partner, and also Felix and Paul Studios, who helped run the show smoothly in the back. And of course, I'd like to thank Ars Electronica for co-presenting today's event and featuring it on their festival platform. Yeah, so Sarah Lisa already told a little bit about the topic. We took the festival's motto, A New Digital Deal, as a starting point to focus on subversive creative strategy in the digital realm to empower marginalized communities with tools of creative computation and gaming. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Hortense Boulet-Ifren. She's a researcher, independent curator and artist focusing on metaverses, rural suburbia malls, and digital native childhood. And she's also a project coordinator at Ars Electronica. And yeah, it's my pleasure to give her the word now. Bienvenue, Hortense. Thanks a lot for being here.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So as you heard, my name is Hortense Boulet-Ifren. So I'm a project coordinator for Ars Electronica Festival 2021, and I'm very glad to be invited here to meet up and connect to introduce this year's festival topic, which is a new digital deal. Indeed, we are at the heart of a crisis that accelerated the state of political, ecological emergency and has completely reformed what surrounds us, where digital tools have served as passers and alternatives to sociality and modes of resistance, and they played an active role, or even hyperactive role, in that changes. And more than ever, we realize that we are at the epicenter of the global village. And we wish to witness now its evolution until today, which is very far from what the Silicon Valley's utopia once was, with the quest to cyberspace and virtual worlds, for example. What were nerdy platforms for few initiated people are now, today, are commonplaces, undissociable of certain derives, unfortunately, linked to the topic of data, of surveillance, and so on. So the digital world is in complete hybridity with the actual world. Let's start with this anchor point. And last year, Ars Electronica held its first online festival in parallel of the on-site festival at Johannes Kepler University in Linz at a time when everything was very uncertain. Everyone was still in a kind of collective hallucination, and the main idea was to create a place in the virtual to continue to show art and to meet. And for its second part, Ars Electronica decided to take a step forward, observing the past year, embracing the subject of the digital. Indeed, a new digital deal is a line of irony for which I think many of you have recognized the reference to Theodore Roosevelt's New Deal, which was the reform plan following the Great Depression in the US. And this year, we wanted to give a space to action projects, to resistant movement, accentuating this relationship to hybridity, always with an online and on-site festival. And so in this kaleidoscope of possibilities, we wanted to highlight direct interaction with the public, artists, curators, activists of our international festival on several levels by privileging certain modalities like workshops, works of activists like forensic architecture, for instance, which won this year Ars Electronica Life Art, AI and Life Art prize for their work, cloud studies. And also we gave the possibility to our partners of the online festival to hold on their own site decentralized festival for their local communities. So this allows us somehow to cover the complexity of what digital represents, which could be both a subject of reflection and, of course, a tool. So how can we think, understand, and use it for action? What tactics can we use to move the lines? And also, what is the place of art in this path? Which brings us back to an important part of this subject, which is politics. When art workers were in recent months relegated to non-essential. If I may insert a personal word here, I'm particularly happy to be here with you in this place where marginalized voices, situated and intersectional knowledge have a space to grow. And I fundamentally believe that despite some downward slide of the digital, cyber-feminist voices are rising from the 90s to remind us that today we are again cybernetic organism, hybrid machine and organism, creature of social reality as well as creatures of fiction. Donna Haraway, of course. And we are all motivated to create and act and share together. And therefore, I'm very curious about the following presentation. And I believe also that connects it perfectly then into what Ars Electronica seeks to show and promote. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hortense. I will, it's my pleasure to introduce now Liane Décary-Chen, our first speaker for today. And I really liked what you said, Hortense, about what are the tactics now to navigate the digital realm. And I think that Liane is really an artist, someone that might have some interesting creative answers to that. So Liane Décary-Chen is a designer, creative coder, and community organizer. She operates within the fields of digital and interactive media. A common thread that runs through all her projects is the desire to equip people with tools that will allow them to take control over their bodies, their lives, and stories. She has worked in numerous fields, including wearable computing, games, interactive filmmaking, and also tech education. She has been working with the Tag Lab since 2016, which is associated to Concordia University and has collaborated with Vice Quebec, ADA-X, ELEKTRA, and Shanghai Design Week. And today she will not only introduce us to her work, but also invite us after her little presentation to join her in a digital spellcasting session before we'll proceed to the fireside chat with Marina Díez Pereiro. So, Liane, the stage is yours.
Hi, let me amplify my voice. Thank you so much. I have to say right now, the levels of mediation I'm experiencing at the same time are like blowing my mind. Wow, okay, I'm so sorry. Let me start from the beginning. I'm in a room, bare feet, Montreal. Montreal is in Canada and is also known as Jojage to First Nations people because Canada was built on stolen land. And so this is where I am. I'm by the big windows of the Goethe-Institut. And when I poke my head past the boundary, I can see the actual street. And there's the big window, and like all these people can just look at me. I'm also at this international festival in VR with all of you people. Oh my God. I'm also on Instagram Live right now. I'm on Zoom, and I'm just really confused. This is my first time in social VR, and this is like, I did not expect this to be so intense. So this is where my story starts today. I like starting with the right now. You can go to the next slide. And then I'm also interested in all sorts of other stories, and the ones I wanted to talk today about, the ones I wanted to talk about today were the ones that are currently informing tech and informing like what's the grand narrative arc, you know, that people are embarked on. And I personally feel, you know, it's a very dated vision. I'm thinking like sleek cities, like pods, like nice white pods and clean kitchens and like, you know, like sort of big machines, but like white and glossy. And to me, that's kind of a dream that dates from like industrialization and like people being in these clunky, dirty machines and being like, oh, what if our machines were less stinky? Or like, what if it was nicer? But it's still sort of a dream, a vision, an aesthetic. Like multiple stories have like tapped into these different lines of thinking that have been established decades ago and that are still fully like driving tech today. And I'm just like, why? Like, why is this a dominant? Like, I find that we're, as much as right now feels like a time where everything is about storytelling, there are just like not enough stories about what possible futures could be like that we actually want to live in. Like, I see an image of something and I'm like, that is a future in which I want to live in. There are not any of those right now, and like the you know the realization of like, or let me say rather, like to me it's a very sort of biblical dynamic that's at play of like right now is right, like right now is fucked up, right now sucks, later, you know, Silicon Valley is working, like they're gonna do something or something's gonna happen and it's gonna be okay. And it's sort of this thing of like, you're in hell right now, but like heaven's right across the corner. And right now it feels like a time where it's like, oh, heaven is not across the corner. And like the different narratives we've been going about like don't work. And I really feel the anxiety that brings people like on a day-to-day. Like I feel in the city, I feel it with my friends, I feel it at work, I feel it in people who can't find work right now, and the people who can't find work because they don't know tech, people that are too old, all of these things. And I'm just like, bro, like the trees are still here, the water's still here, people have been working to protect these things, and there are the futures. So you can go to the next slide. So I feel like we've already done the easy part of getting different people through the door. Like this process has started, has been become mainstream. And we have different people in like the building. Then this is where the hard part starts of like, how do you fundamentally divest from processes and logics that have been going on for centuries that we all know cause ravage in many ways, and then at the same time you're like overwhelmed by your own like bodily realization that you're participating in like, you know, like global exploitation. Sorry, I just did a lot of intense uh catastrophic things right now, but what I wanted to talk about was like, you know, you walk through the door, and then where do you look to see, not even to know what to do, but where do you look to even start thinking, to have the ideas of a place that could help you think of what's a new thing? Like, what is something that is actually healing and a vision for society that actually counts every person in? And to me, I found like I've been trying to do accessibility in tech for as long as like I've been able to, and to me it's led me to like a deeply personal process of looking for like honestly writing your own story and finding, coming back to the personal, and from person to person and like one on one, to rebuild these links and to be in your extremely local, like, you know, the classic like think global, act local. But like the local is like your local scene, your local building, your street, your neighbors, and like locally, like all the locals. So so then this is like my thought process over the pandemic. Where I got at was like, then we have to write our own stories. We have to create our own visions for the future from things that we know and that are deeply healing, deeply personal, as we are individually engaged in this process. And the story that I like, and actually I don't know how long I'm supposed to run. Somebody has to stop me if I run too long. The story that I've personally chosen is my the how to say, like I'm LARPing, and this is the campaign I'm doing. The story starts at the infancy of capitalism when common land was divided into private land, and there were people, especially old women, who remembered that the land we used to be common and knew about medicine and knew all sorts of things. And people didn't like that, and then they burnt them. And that's the story of the witches. And to me, the idea of magic has been such a powerful framework to kind of like ground myself historically and give me a lineage from which I descend, to give me a community locally of other people who engage in a practice. But mostly, I think to think about what it is to control, like have power over things that are unseen. Like when you're coding, when you're building structures, you're like manipulating things in ways that you don't understand, and like, and then people have been thinking about magic for a long time, and it also gives me a solid code of ethics. There's so much ethics that has been written about. It gives me a grounding to nature. It gives me a place to look. And to me, the strength of this is really a strong narrative framework in which like it doesn't matter which piece you're looking at. But when you dive into all the parts of the story, you find answers. So you can go to the next slide. So like I'm really not saying that everybody should be doing digital witchcraft. You totally should if you think that's cool and explore what that means for you. But in general, I think the important part is for everybody to connect with their personal story and what it is that they want to do into the world, and to build that, and to build as many windows, doors, and bridges in and out of that bubble that you're building, and to cross worlds and to go into other people's bubbles and to be like, I don't agree with your bubble, but like there's coherency and I'm like crossing it, you know? And I think that's how you build solid networks, and to look back at nature. And I think right now we've talked a lot about gender, we've talked about race, we talked about so many things, disability almost. And like I think right now it's just like nature. Like look at nature, you look at how it works, we look at how we fucked it up, and then we have to look at how we're gonna fix it. And we in Montreal we often do land acknowledgements like at the beginning of events. for multiple reasons. And the thing we say is to just like try and think what that means in your personal practice. And like right now for me, when I look at this image, like I just have like kind of gratefulness for people that have been actively at the front lines of like fighting like oil pipeline work and all sorts of environmental destruction. And yeah, I'm grateful for their work, and I'm like very excited to see how my personal practice can like empower, help people who continue to do this and who hold this knowledge that is very precious. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna end. Can someone give me a time check to see if I have time to do this podcasting?
Amazing. I didn't look at the time. Do we still have time for the spellcasting, or do we move on to Marina? I think we do have time. I think everyone wants to do the spellcasting. It doesn't matter if we have time or not. We just have time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, good.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
then
I'm
we have
just
a bit less meetup.
Okay, so I don't need Q&A. I'm gonna sit down. Well, we could do Q&A. We'll see. Okay. So spellcasting, yes. When I proposed this, I didn't realize how like intimate of a process it is, and I've never done like this. Like this is only newly my practice, so I'm very nervous. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna like shake to release my nervousness, and I would encourage everybody to like, whether you're sitting or if you want to get up, just to like get a good wiggle in. I don't know. You want to do it? You don't have to do it. It feels really good.
Let's do it.
Unfortunately, I don't have a.
Oh, that's okay. You can wiggle even if you're. We know you're wiggling spiritually.
You can also send lots of emojis and
yes,
to express your wiggling.
Okay. So you can everybody like come closer? You guys are far. I want you to hear me well. Come closer. Oh, this is so fun. I love it.
The only thing we should avoid is standing in front of Vera because she's in the Zoom.
Right.
So just like bring her in the middle of the circle. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I need to tell you, behind me there's this little room. You can see the entrances on both sides, and inside the room, I have a very special machine. It's a very special machine because it creates a link between the physical world and the digital world. And so people who go through this machine gain the ability to control or maybe to change or manage the weight of their pixels. So what's going to happen is people are going to line up here. Then one by one, you're going to go through down there. And then you're going to go through the machine. And as you're going through the machine and your 3D like object intersects with the 3D object of the machine, first in your face, then in your chest and in your arms, you're going to feel the weight of your pixels. And then weight is going to go away. And after that, you're going to be able to, at any other given moment, to shed the weight of your pixels. So if that's something that interests you, I'll do it first. So you can line up behind me. You don't have to. You can definitely, if you would rather not, you can also definitely just like chill around and sit. So I'll say it as I'm doing
like
it.
I'm this person. I'm like, can I be the first one after you?
Yes, please. Okay. So we're gonna go one by one, and I'm gonna keep talking as we're doing. Yes. Oh, wow, I love this. I feel like I'm like at the club in the lineup, and everybody's just like waiting to get in. I love social VR. Okay. I feel like a camp counselor too. This is what a great moment. Let me just appreciate this moment for a second. This is excellent. Thank you so much for organizing this. I love this. Okay, so we're gonna go through and then we'll see. You can take your time to leave space in between people. So you walk through and you're gonna be greeted. Then you look at the machine and slowly you walk across it. And then you feel.
Hey, put your mic on speaker so everyone can hear you if you don't have it right now. Amplify your mic.
I did amplify it. Can you hear me? Oh, because I was in a different room. Well,
Oh, maybe, yeah.
that's just life. You're gonna go through the machine, and as you're going, in your entire body, you're gonna feel in your face, in your chest, and your arms. You're gonna traverse it, and you're gonna feel your pixels.
I'm pixel cleansed.
Does it feel good?
Yeah.
You're all now. You're cleansing your avatars. Does it feel good?
Can I go again? Microphone so you can talk.
Wow, I can't wait to do more things in VR. This is so great.
It was so cool.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing all of this. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Please also come back to the next editions. Like, this was so good to have you. Like, this is so cool.
Oh my
I'm
god,
definitely gonna
this
remember
is
this.
so fun. Excellent. Okay, well, I guess we can sit around for the fireside chat now.
Yeah, I'm quickly gonna introduce Marina for now with some slides, and then we're gonna indeed move over to the fireside in a bit, and I'm gonna amplify my voice again. So, wow, now we can be totally cleansed for our next speaker. That's also totally on topic. Marina Diaz is a Spanish award-winning game designer, and she's by now based in Berlin. She used to be based in London, but recently actually moved where I met her just a few weeks ago during the Amaze Festival. Marina is the CEO and creative director of her company 3 of Cups Games, which is a London-based game studio built on diversity and ethical fundamentals. I'm also excited to ask her a bit more about what that means. And the studio focuses on building emotional games. And Marina is also known to work with self-care and mental health in digital platforms. They are also, so the studios as well, opening their horizons to new ways of interacting and therefore also getting interested in immersive technologies. So maybe we can see more VR happening right there. I'm really happy that we're using this energy that's coming up at the moment. So yeah, I'm so glad to have you here with us today, Marina. And we are going to have a Marina, you're over there. Like you should actually be here on stage with me. I'm just noticing like you're not even close to me. I was so that is fine. That is fine. And maybe also now that we have all our cleansed avatars, it's even more. Or maybe I'm even more emotional after that, but that was really something very, very cool, very out of the extraordinary. And I'm really looking forward to talk with you a bit more. And also at this point, I want to let the audience know that we have a hand raise function. where you can basically indicate that you want to basically talk to Marina about all the fascinating work she's doing, or want to ask a couple of questions. You can ask them yourself. You can then just amplify your voice, or we do that for you. So yeah, and with that, we're gonna go to the other side of the room to our cozy fireside. And yeah, thank you, Farina, for building that for us. It is so beautiful.
It's amazing.
And I learned today you can even fly in Altspace VR. We also even try that out a bit later, that we can all fly around the fire a bit later.
We can try that. So for the fire.
All right. So, do you have your microphone amplified with the Amplify My Voice so everyone can hear you?
I'm not sure. Do you know what's the key for that?
Yeah, so there's a little dot saying host tools. And if you open that, there's an icon in the middle. And yeah, and everyone else should see the hand raise function by now. So yeah, get your questions ready while I'm able to start. I'm again like going first. So I want to start the conversation with you, asking you about self-care in digital environments and what that means for you. So we just got a little bit of a picture of what Liane is working with, and I would be really interested to hear from your perspective when you're talking about self-care in digital environments, if you could give us some insights around that.
Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for having me. I think this is the best meetup I ever attended, honestly, in my life. So it's really cool. And going for self-care, basically in the last couple of years, 4 or 5 years since I started working in games and with technology, I also started kind of researching a lot on how we could amplify the barriers of technology in the realm of self-care and mental health. And that's, I've been doing lots of research on that, and lots of the games that I made in the last couple of years are centered around that. And especially like since I got to know, thanks to you, Sarah, better the VR and immersive technologies as well, and having a deeper look thanks to this meetup, I kind of feel very, very excited for trying all the possibilities that this environment can give to this purpose. So basically, when I talk about care and mental health in digital environments, in terms of games, when we are not able to share a space in real time with the players, basically it's a work that I do with very simple tools. In the case, I don't know if everyone is familiar with Ptsd, but basically it's an engine for making games that is hosted in itch. But it's a popular website for indie game developers, and basically it's browser based, so everyone it's very accessible. Like, I really encourage everyone to try if you are interested in making games, because that's how I also started making games, and it's some amazing tool. So basically, as I was saying, Bits is very simple, and that simplicity gives you the possibility for getting focused in other things. So in my case, I try to get focused into difficult topics such as mental health and self-care through this simplicity, and specifically the building of safe spaces in digital. So for example, one of the last things I worked on was this game called You're Very Welcome, that you can see the cover here in the room today. And basically, You're Very Welcome is based on a psychological approach for people that suffer from anxiety and PTSD and other things. But it's basically an idea on kind kind of managing an inner hotel that lives inside of you with all your emotions and all the parts of your inner side and your experiences that maybe you need to pay attention to, but we don't have time to do that. So, and you're very welcome in this game. I try to emulate experience by kind of building a small story where the player has to meet some emotions of them. So in this case, maybe for example, you meet with this that child you were one day that, for example, your parents got divorced and that part of you didn't process well that. So it's basically an space that I wanted to emulate the encounter with your inner parts. For that, I also reach out to different therapies, and it's also a tool that I want to try to build in VR. It's a bit complicated because it's very powerful, so needs to be built with lots of care and attention. So, but that's in a very nutshell the stuff I, build.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like real self-care in such a like profound way that you're looking at all kinds of emotions and feelings that might be out there that might be approachable in the framework of games, if I understand that right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Perfectly.
It's such a probably underrated genre of games. When we're seeing what children are mostly playing, yeah.
Yeah.
So just like when we're looking at you making those games and then people actually adapting them, do you have experience with what happens in these people, like in terms of feedback to what you're putting out there? Like how are people responding? How are people adopting that? Are you actually reaching audiences that you would like to reach with this content?
Yes, that's a very good question. Actually, that's one of the things that keep me making games, honestly. Like now I've been working more on more commercial stuff, but when I have the opportunity to keep digging into my own game making, one of the best things in the world is when people reach out to you because they played your games and the games you made were helpful for them. So it's the case, like for example, like it's very interesting. It's the very first game, like serious game I made in my life. Like 3 years ago, I made this game called Hey Dad, a story of a mental health illness, and it was a game that I made for processing the diagnosis of my dad as a bipolar disorder person. So that happened when I was 8 years old, and honestly, it was a thing that was very difficult for me to process because in those times I was born and raised in Spain, and if mental health is a difficult thing today, imagine 20 years ago. So basically, I made this game for processing my experience, really not thinking that could make other people to connect with the same thing. And the surprise was incredible because first of all, lots of people play the game. I think that in 3 years, like almost 2,000 people play the game. But specifically when I went to some conferences, I got some people that came to talk to me because they have played the game, and they would say to me that it was amazing and thank you for making it because they had a similar case in their families. So the game was actually very helpful on for maybe just knowing that out there in the world there's more people that also went through your same experience. So, and recently, the most recently case was the case of a woman from India that she's in her 20s as well, and like in India it's very difficult. It's a very difficult landscape for these kind of things as well with mental health. So she was extremely grateful that she could find a game related to that and experience she was living at the moment with her own dad as well. So that's super nice. And then with You Are Very Welcome and Empathy, with those games as well, the feedback was super positive. And I, at the beginning when I started making these things, I was a bit feeling that maybe it was simple or that it was not gonna be helpful, but actually that's one of the as well surprises of these kind of games that I started making, that people actually liked the simplicity of it because they can focus on the heavy stuff, so they don't need to focus on difficult controls or lots of elements in the digital environment. They can only focus on how they feel and and the experience they are going through in the game. So yeah, like the feedback is basically what keeps me going.
Yeah, wow, that is really like, yeah, healing in the digital environment, right?
It's very crazy, yeah.
Wow.
So
And
like I
so
really oh
there
sorry,
was,
Sarah.
yeah, no, like there was a hand raise. I'm not 100% sure. Chris, what? Did you wanted to ask a
Yeah.
question?
Okay. Just I ask you to unmute yourself.
I saw that a bit late, so he might already thought differently. Sorry about that. If you should have another question, just let me know. And then I think there's one just coming up, right? One question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to take up all the time. I mean, I could keep on talking to you literally forever, but I also want to give the participants the opportunity to like ask a couple of questions. So go ahead.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, first of all, I think it's like so incredible what you're doing and that you're helping people
thank you.
through something that's fun to do. And I'm curious, have there been emotions or sort of things that you want to tap into for people to help them work through it where you haven't been able to find a way to do that in a game?
So I'm not sure if I understood the question. Well, can you repeat, please?
So, there human beings that obviously are so complex, and I'm curious if there are certain types of emotions that you have that you want to bring out in people so they can work through it, but you weren't quite sure how to make that happen through a game.
Yeah,
is
so
that clear? I'm
yeah, super clear. It's, my neurons are a bit harsh today. Sorry, but that was perfect. So basically, there are sometimes it happens that there are a couple of emotions that I want to explore through the games that I make. That was the case, for example, of empathy and other games that I made, like Consent. It's a game series that I started 2 years ago. During a trip, I decided that I wanted to make one game per week on an emotion or feeling like those. So sometimes it happens like that. Other times, maybe I'm going through that same emotion and I make a game about it. So I kind of like have the experience fresh, for saying it in some way. So at the beginning, I really didn't pretend that people would feel the same as I was feeling. It just happened naturally. I think it happens a lot more often than what I thought, because then later on, digging on research about psychology, I discovered that, for example, emotions like happiness, or for example, just the laugh, when you see videos of people laughing or something like that, you immediately maybe feel like laughing yourself as well. Or like why people watch videos of cats and dogs, because they feel like very kind of relaxing. So it's kind of the same feeling in the end, right? Like it's producing one emotion in other people. So I guess that's why people maybe connect in the same way with my games, because I was feeling that emotion while I was making them. So then maybe they are able to connect through the experience, because in some way they can feel how I was feeling while making this, you know? I
Yeah,
hope
it
that
resonates
was...
with them too. Yeah, thank you so much for answering that.
Thank you so much.
It's really, really nice.
And we have another question over here by Lawless. Are you...
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to say congratulations and well done on your games. I just wanted to know, how long it takes you to, like, from scratch, if you develop your idea, like you're saying you're traveling somewhere and you develop an idea, to game completion, and then what are some of your games called and where can we play them? That's what I want to ask you.
So it depends on the game, but like sometimes can take like a couple of hours, or sometimes can take a couple of weeks. It really depends on what, like, how I feel myself as well. Like, for example, in the case of Hey Dad, that is such a complicated topic, but at the same time it was my experience with my dad, so I didn't need to kind of put paper how I felt, because I knew how it's like the real story, right? Like, the thing is that
Right.
the same story can be, like, other people can feel very identified by the same. So making Hey Dad, it was emotionally very difficult. I think I never cried as much making a game as with Hey Dad. But at the same time, it took me 4 hours for the game. So it's not a very, it's a very simple game. But I think that what helped Bitsy as an engine helped me a lot with is with storytelling, and the way of kind of gradually giving the players the information for following, like the experience. So, but it really depends. Then I have another game that is called Ptsd, that it's a prototype I made on Unity 3 years ago for my master's project, and Ptsd took me 4 months, because it's an experience about how a person with PTSD feels and the kind of situations we go through. And for example, there is one scene that is in a tube, because I used to have lots of panic attacks in the tube myself. And for that, I was living in London at the moment, so my routine was going to the tube to experience those feelings. So I was able to put the same on Unity when doing that. And at the same time I was working on that, I was having lots of support from my own therapist, because it was such a difficult thing to deal with at the same time. But I really wanted to make it, because in that moment, in those months, was when I was already conscious and aware that people really these tools helpful. And even if you are not with the person and you are alone in your home playing the game, it's already helpful to have something that exists there, and you don't feel that you are the only person in the world going through the same thing.
Amazing. Actually, that was so emotional, and also like really good last words to round this up. I couldn't have actually found better ones. Yeah, I'm just so like honored to be here with all of you amazing ladies that the program today. This was so intense, probably also because of the topics that we were having here, which are really a completely new digital deal. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Yeah, let's go. Maybe ask Farina if we could all learn how to fly in here.
You have to turn flight on.
That, yes.
Flight's not enabled. I don't think you've got flight enabled.
So first of all,
you got flight enabled, you can.
Microphones are now open again, so you can talk. And also, I added some extra time already to the event, so people can also join.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out.
Thank you so much.
I can give you rights to fly.
Yeah, you have to flight enable, I think, to fly.
Oh yeah,
in your
true.
host tools, because it says flight is not available here. So if you put in the host tools, make flight available now.